Okay, welcome to the first head-to-head guitarist versus guitarist video. And I just want to say a couple things about the background on these. The pairings are drawn by random, so they might come up kind of strange sometimes. And the plan is for me to say a few things about each one of them, put up a poll, let you guys vote and comment, and then revisit the topic later. So the random pairing that I got for the first video is Joe Perry versus Steve Vai. And what I'm going to do is to keep the video from getting too long, I'm just going to spotlight 3 elements of each player that I think are noteworthy or brilliant, and then I'm going to close out with a couple of comments, and then we'll just let it go to the polls and to the discussion. Alright, so when it comes to Joe Perry, the first characteristic that he has that I think is worth mentioning is he is a skilled blues player, and he's handy with a slide, and he really knows his way around the pentatonic scale. So as far as solid blues-based soloing and rhythm playing, he's top-notch. He doesn't have very many weaknesses in that regard. The second thing that I would say makes Joe Perry a noteworthy guitarist is his image and his look. Now, you're going to say that's not a musical quality. Well, the fact is, it's an important quality. He has an enduring profile and image just as visually, and the way that he matches up with Steven Tyler, the way that he dresses, the way that he presented himself all throughout Aerosmith right up to today. With his work in the Hollywood Vampires, Joe Perry always looks super rock and roll, and I think that's a very important thing. It was an important thing for guitarists like Jimmy Page. Alright, third element that I want to point out in terms of Joe Perry being a great guitar player is his songwriting. He might not be the riff master that Tony Iommi is, and he might not be the brilliant composer that Jimi Hendrix is, but Joe Perry is a fantastic hooky songwriter. I mean, you take something like Walk This Way, or even something like Sweet Emotion, or a song like Back in the Saddle, where he wrote and played that famous bass part. Perry has a knack for writing a catchy guitar riff, but he manages to put his own stamp on everything. And those are 3 reasons why I think Joe Perry is a brilliant guitar player. Now, in terms of Steve Vai, there's no comparison with Joe Perry on technical terms. Steve Vai is a much more technically accomplished player, and so that will be my first element that goes into Steve Vai's greatness as a guitar player, is his technical ability. Outside of classical guitar, there's probably not too many people who are more technically accomplished on the instrument than Steve Vai. I don't think you could probably name a scale variation, a actual technique, whether it's his doing hammer-ons or tapping like Eddie Van Halen, or doing things with the whammy bar, or one of his own created techniques. Vai is a master of all of them. So technically, it's going to be hard to find anyone to beat him. My second reason why I think Vai is a great guitarist is his imagination. So he's very experimental, and this is particularly evident on the work that he did on his solo album, Flexible. And it's also really apparent on the work he did with David Lee Roth. I mean, he was stepping into a role where he was going to be in the most commercial band, I think, up to that point in his career. But he still managed to retain his experimental nature throughout, and I mean, that's more evident on Skyscraper than it is on Eat 'Em and Smile, but still, throughout all the work that Steve Vai has ever done up till now, where he's playing on the Hydra, he's always been at the kind of the cutting edge of experimentation. The third reason that I would say that Steve Vai is a brilliant guitar player is because of his overall dedication to the guitar. In other words, I like it when you see in a musician that they grow over time. You can go back to, like I mentioned, Steve Vai's solo album Flexible, which kind of recorded off and on in recording studios when he could get the money together. And it's very basic. As much of an accomplished player as he is, and as much as he's able to play in different time signatures and different keys, and like I say, he's a master of many scales, but the album itself doesn't show a great deal of range. It's not something that you would sit back and think, wow, look at how accomplished his arrangement skills are. Look how accomplished his composing skills are. But if you go on all the way up through all the David Lee Roth stuff and much of his solo work up until, like I mentioned, his recent thing with the Hydra, you'll see that his arranging skills have gotten tighter, and his knowledge of how to use the guitar as a stepping point for composition has grown. So I think he continued to expand and grow throughout all of his career. Let's close out by saying that both of these guitarists are still active, which is noteworthy. Perry's older than Vi, but he still tours with Aerosmith and he plays with the Hollywood Vampires. And Vi is always up to something. You never know what he might do next. I think that although it's a very strange pairing, it is an interesting one. And I'm anxious to see what you guys vote, how you guys vote, and what you decide in terms of which one of these guys is actually the more accomplished, the more influential, the more important, however you want to phrase it. Only one of them can win the poll. So thanks a lot for listening, and remember to comment below and like and subscribe. Thanks a lot.